What's going on? It's Calais Poteet, you guys, and over 300,000 drivers leave the industry every year. But what if the root causes are not hiding in plain sight, right? So today we're going to unpack the 3 decades of insider knowledge on recruiting, safety, retention, compliance with trucking insurance veteran who's seen it all, Mr. Harvey Snook. Mr. Snook, I really appreciate you just taking some time out to have this conversation with us today. So if you're a fleet owner or a industry pro looking to keep good drivers, reduce your risk, right? You don't want to miss this segment. So welcome back to Legacy Decoded. This is a show where we decode what's working in trucking and logistics today. Again, I'm Calais Poteet, and in this episode, we are joined by Harvey Snook. This is a trucking insurance advisor who's been helping fleets strategize around safety and retention since 1993. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. And
Started when
Harvey's
I was
worked with,
5.
and he's been working with hundreds of companies over the years, I'm sure. And his perspective ties together insurance data, safety trends, the human side of keeping drivers on the road. And we'll dive into what he's seen, what's working, what's broken, how fleets can build smarter operations. So, Harvey, again, thank you so much. If you can, just for the people that have not heard of you and CargoLabs, can you kind of just shine some light on what you guys been working on, how you got started in trucking and transportation?
I started in trucking and transportation with a large direct carrier that owned the market back in the 90s. They've since exited. Like most people, I was on straight commission, and the trucking policies were high risk, high reward, if you will, for an insurance person. The premiums generally are higher in that than they are in small business and local businesses. And I was really drawn to trucking mainly because I was able to help people with risk management and setting up the structure of their finances. As a result of being a truck agent for all these years, my largest customer is a zero asset based owner operator model, independent contractor model, and they use trucks that have lift gates on them. So as we all know, they never break down at 2 o'clock on Wednesday. Lift gate never needs to be serviced during the week. It's always Friday night at 7 o'clock. So I was the bad soccer coach at the end of the soccer
Mm,
field next to the woods on the phone talking to Penske or Ryder saying, yes, sir, my CSR is not in the office. I can't give you a year make VIN lost pay lien
mm,
holder certificate to get my guy on the road, but I promise Monday I'll be happy to do that.
mm.
So I found out we can execute digital contracts and put a lost pay lien holder's year, make, model VIN on a certificate, and paired up with a gentleman out of Charlottesville, Virginia. We built the technology, and our focus is on the owner operators of the world to get them out on the road, loaded and ready to go with the various products that are 24/7 oriented.
Nice. Awesome, man. Yeah, I know that's a big headache, right? After hours. I was just curious, how did you find a way that kind of kept you passionate about trucking all of these years?
I grew up with a family that valued hard work, and I watched my clients take phone calls 3 in the morning. The owners of the companies were working all the time. It was generally a business that was passed down from generation to generation. You were born into it, and it was in your blood, and you couldn't get away from it. And I saw the value I could bring to people in that world, and that's what fed me. I was never a guy that wanted to raise my hand and say I'm cheaper. I always wanted to bring an alternative solution and help them out with what their business needed. And so there's enough creativity in that with the trucking business, and it's such high stakes that it was very rewarding.
I love that. I love that. And looking back, how have you seen driver retention and safety conversations kind of evolve over the years?
It's a different ball game. So, last century, I hate to say that, but I'm going to say that last century and back in aught three, whatever. Um, I used to walk into places and there used to be a gate with a piece of notebook paper, no drivers beyond this point. Right. And
Mm,
so we've come a long way since then. I now see all kinds of setups and driver value programs, reward programs for safety, for clear inspections. I think we've come a long way.
gotcha. Now, when you think about like the root causes of driver turnover, pay versus culture versus safety, How do you think through those processes, and how can carriers kind of best address driver turnover, do you think?
I was just talking to a former driver who's out of the industry now last week, and he gave me the tale of two stories, tale of two companies. He talked about the first company he worked for. He was given the keys. He had about a half a day on board, and he was on the road by himself. Ended up hitting a run out ramp on Sandstone Mountain in West Virginia. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it would be terrifying to do that on his first
Absolutely.
day.
Wow.
So he changed carriers, and it was a completely different story. So the carrier that he moved to and stayed with the rest of his driving career, he had a team, a success team working for him. So he was given somebody to contact just for navigation, somebody to contact for a breakdown, somebody to contact for pay, somebody to contact for issues with being dispatched, or somebody to contact if the receiver didn't know the expected plan when he arrived. And so, he was talking about how truck drivers on an island out there by themselves with no support staff, and the motoring public has grown more and more callous, less and less considerate of people. So I can imagine it's probably a very lonely and it's sometimes frightening experience. I mean, I used to run coffee routes, and I had route salespeople, and I'd fly into a town I'd never been in, and I'd have to catch that route up. And I had nobody. And just in a Ford Econoline, I was terrified to go down an alley. I didn't know if I was going to have to back out. I can't imagine that with a full 53-foot rig, right? So,
Yeah. No, actually, I've been in a situation like that when I first started training. Coming through the Tennessee mountains, I took a wrong turn and we were just dipping and dipping, and I just didn't know how I was going to make it through this. There was nowhere to turn around, and it was just a very narrow mountain road that would just continue to wind up and down and up and down. So, scariest thing in my life. So I could definitely picture, his situation coming through those Virginia mountains for sure. Well, cool. Are there any Let's talk about Cargo Labs real quick. What have you guys what's the problem specifically that Cargo Labs is aiming to fix inside of the industry?
so if you look at the supply chain, 95% of the supply chain is 10 units and under, 87% is 5 units and under. The insurance industry ignores 87% of the supply chain because it's too labor intensive to address. So you've got some people, progressive will do it and beat people up. But by and large, they don't really address the problems that a small fleet would have, even though it is 87% of a $27 billion industry. So I got tired of seeing that. And it sounds like you and I are kind of the same way. We understand technology can make lives better. I paired with a young man that is a whiz at coding and building things. And we built a platform which addresses certain types of insurance where expediency trumps price. So got the underwriters to give us the insurance. But our value equation is things like, let's say you're on a load board and you're stuck in a city on a Friday before Labor Day coming up here. Let's say you're in Norfolk, Virginia, and you're looking at $2.04 a mile is the best thing you can find with $100,000 cargo. So our idea is let's give you $250,000 worth of cargo. You've got fewer people competing for those loads, and you can get back home and make $3.60 a mile for a $120 investment to buy $150,000 in excess cargo limit in the cab of your truck. So that's kind of how this started. And then we talked about the physical damage. Let's get you loaded with Penske or Ryder with a year, make, and VIN, and not pay their rate that they charge when you pick up that truck. Let's get you a rate that you're used to paying with your normal provider. So we execute that digitally.
Awesome. Awesome. And what do you think is working really, really well for you guys right now? What's kind of been the most frustrating part of it?
Well, our newest product seems to be very well received, and that's occupational accident. Again, in the insurance business, since I've been in it, the rule is you got to have 10 lives or more in a motor carrier to sponsor you and pull money out of your settlement in order to pay the insurance company. Well, That doesn't work, right? First off, if the motor carrier is pulling money out of the settlement, then kind of makes him an employer for a reclassification suit. And secondly, let's say I want to run my own authority, but I need coverage. I don't want to leave my wife and kids alone if I get hurt or killed, God forbid, on the job. So we built this occupational accident program where you get $1 million total benefit. You can name a beneficiary. It pays your medical bills if you're injured, pays your truck payment. And it works like ESPN Plus or Netflix. The first month is prorated, the remaining days of the month. And then after that, it's just a monthly charge on the first day of the month, hits your credit card. And the really cool thing is you manage your certificates. So you can run for big brokerage A on Monday and big brokerage B on Thursday and send them a cert and show that you got the coverage.
Brilliant. Actually, I think that's the first time I've actually heard someone have a product like that, man. That's really, really, really brilliant. Thanks for that.
Well,
So
I'm glad it's the first one.
no, I think that definitely makes a huge, huge impact for a lot of companies. I had a, I had the luxury of working with my first commercial insurance client a little later last year and learned so much about commercial insurance, and I had no idea. But he was able to kind of just let me know a lot of the nuances and what was going on that side of things, and how many different providers you can actually look for. So just hearing that's definitely something I think would definitely make a huge impact for people that are more aware of Cargo Labs and what you guys are doing. With that being said, where do you see Cargo Labs being like the next 6 to 12 months? What do you guys have on the road?
We're working on other products that'll help out your target audience. Single owner operator with his own authority or the owner operator that's leased onto somebody permanently. We're working on a physical damage program that hits like a monthly pay instead of, if you go to a big company that specializes in that, you either have to finance your policy and pay right now 8%, 9% interest to have the benefit of 25% down and 9 pay. And with the actual liability rates that are going on now, we're talking about a lot of money, as I'm sure you know, which is maybe why you're doing this instead of driving your own rig around now. So we've looked to offload that. We can now work on a monthly physical damage product where we built some rich benefits in, like towing that is sufficient and doesn't diminish the total value of your loss if you end up in the median and you have to be towed out. Or and the value equation is it's just monthly. It's the same way as our OCAC works. You pay prorated on the first month, and then it hits your credit card the first day of the month, and your coverage is dumped into a portal where you can send your certificates out, and your bank knows that you got coverage on the end. I think that'll help a lot. Again, there's premium and then there's cash flow. And so
Yeah.
the smaller guys, the smaller fleets, cash flow, you can't get a line of credit like your competitors when you're dealing with a large trucking company. So it makes it
Mm.
as you probably learned, it makes it a tough deal. You take 25% of your annual premium up front, you're going to be tight for the next couple months.
Correct. Yeah, I think someone was telling me that they had to pay 50,000 for one box truck, which is I've never heard of that. With that being said, man, what kind of industry shifts are you seeing right now? Because I know that, trucking is continuously evolving, continuously changing. What are some shifts that have really been on your radar?
Well, as you probably know, because of that horrific crash in Florida, English as a second language has really turned the industry on its ear. We already have a driver shortage. You've got, for better or for worse, politics involved in this, and it's going to be a real problem for a number of drivers. So, a lot of fleets out there, there's going to be more and more competition for good drivers. That's one of the issues. These lawsuits in these states, it's out of control. And I don't know, have you ever discussed what a time demand is? I don't want to go into it if you don't have interest, but it changes the game. I'll just make it very short. If your insurance company is giving you $1 million policy and a good attorney gets a time demand on there, a good plaintiff attorney, bad plaintiff attorney, if you're the trucking company, they can get that policy limit of $1 million to be null and void. And the insurance company pays whatever the jury demand is.
Mm,
So if you think about being an insurance company and you know what your cost is for $1 million of coverage, yet some judge can make you pay 25 million. How do you price that? I mean, you can't price it. So that's why you're seeing rates go up is they're fearful that they have to get as much as they can from the segments they can to cover their unexpected loss on the inability to limit a contract to $1 million.
I see what you're saying. I see what you mean. What type of, I guess, risk mitigation could a trucking company put in place to kind of, I guess, shine a better light on the company to, I guess, not have to pay as much? Or is that even possible? Is there things that they can be putting in place? Maybe safety programs, documentation of different things?
Absolutely. I work for I don't know if you want me to say the big insurance agency I work for, but they provide a lot of loss control help. The benefit of technology again is it's easy to find tried and true programs to manage drivers, to incentivize them to have good inspections, to do pre-trips, to maintain a good motor vehicle report. You got these loyalty cards. So, I recommend to my clients, you need to use a carrot and a stick. So the carrot is give them an Amazon gift card for every clean inspection they get. Drive your SMS scores down. That's a key factor for getting loaded and defending a claim. But on the other side, if they're not doing it, use your Samsara devices, use your ELDs. If they're not doing a pre-trip, if you don't see, the vehicle's on, but they're not driving and they're not conducting the pre-trip, hammer them for that. There's got to be a hammer. I mean, you want to keep your drivers, but they have to be part and parcel to making you successful. Those are the guys you want. And I think most drivers understand if you approach it of, hey, buddy, help me out. I'm trying to run my business here so I can pay you more. They'll work with you on that. So use the technology, use the rewards programs, and you can find all kinds of information. If you're not getting information from your trucking insurance agent on how to run a safe company, you need a new trucking insurance agent. If they're just showing up and collecting the check every year, there's plenty of options for you.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think a lot of people as well need more information around what that actually looks like. Because I believe when people first, especially people just getting or starting trucking companies, let's say we have first time owner operators, maybe extensive driving history, company driving, right? But moving into their own rig now, requires a different level of education, right? Business acumen. What do you think is are good sources for educating themselves on those type of incentives or programs? Is it just reaching out to or just having that conversation with the agent, or are there other resources that they can look?
So you need to be having those conversations with your agents. Most good agencies that specializes in trucking will have online materials to provide you. They'll be hosting weekend seminars, in nice places. So you get to write that off on your taxes, take the missus along with you, enjoy staying somewhere nice and learning how to manage your risk. But just to ask your agent what to do, right? Insurance is really just a financial product. You're paying somebody money to take risk that you're not taking on your own. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. And if you just treat it the way you do your investments, making a decision on what tractor you want to use, what kind of trailers you want to use. Same thing with insurance. How much risk do I want to take? Can I afford to take more risk and lower my guaranteed payout? Is it worth it? And you need somebody that'll analyze that. And along with that, if you're going to take risk, you need somebody that'll help you drive your frequency of loss down because severity comes from frequency. It's an old adage and it's true. So, to answer your question, we're talking about managing risk right now, right? Here we are online
Absolutely
in a podcast. Who would have thought that 5 years ago?
correct. Yeah, and the reason because we used to do these once a week, typically like Q&As, or we get a thought leader to come on for educational pieces. But we felt like since we've fostered the culture of our community based on resources and education, we needed to do things like this more often, just so they wouldn't be able to just hear from us, but hear from other thought leaders as well, right? Because I think everything that we want is based on the quality of information that we get so we can make better decisions based on that information. So we felt like this was a very important piece of just giving more people voices to get that information out faster, right? So people can, do, better and well in their businesses. If I could ask you, if you could solve one major challenge today, what would that be?
Well, I'm working on solving expediency, and I'm working on hopefully one day getting primary auto insurance on a monthly basis to help cash flow for these people. I'll tell you one thing I wanted to get to on risk management. It's a problem that's already been solved. Your viewers out there, I don't know what your thoughts are on two-way cameras, accident event recorders. There's a difference between a camera and an accident event recorder. A camera's watching you in the cab at all times. An accident event recorder has an event by a G-force change, a hard brake, or an acceleration, and it backs
Mm,
up and it saves that data. All the other stuff isn't saved. I have seen so many trucking companies and truck drivers save their job or their company from having a two-way ELD that records all the data that I am a 100% believer. And one of the major shifts in my career is that those things are becoming better and better accepted. It used to be my clients were afraid they'd lose their drivers in there. But I mean, I've seen two or three drivers exonerated from vehicular manslaughter charges because we didn't have a one way, but we had a two-way camera. If you're on your phone with headphones and you're driving and you're paying absolute attention, and you don't have a two-way camera, the trial attorney, plaintiff attorney is going to find out you were on your phone. You won't have any defense. They'll say you were distracted. But with the camera, you can see that your eyes are moving, you're following the road. I've had two or three drivers defended for that reason. So it wasn't really the question you asked, but I think that's the best technology for small fleets and owner operators that exists.
great.
What are
Awesome.
your thoughts?
I'd like to touch on that a little bit. Let's say that, there's an accident or anything, right? And a suit follows. What do you think is the best way? How can someone or a company kind of be best prepared to enter into those circumstances?
So the data you collect right at the time of the suit is huge. You need all the pictures you can get. You need pictures of skid marks. You need to see where the other vehicle ended up. You need to keep your information for what was, you know, 2/10 of a mile up the road. In Atlanta, oh, if I'm sure everybody's driven through Atlanta is rolling their eyes right now. When those ramps back up and cars are in the right lane and you're a tractor trailer and you're stuck in that right lane, if there's an accident, you need to show exactly what happened leading up to that miles back. So if you have an accident before the police officer tells you have to stay in your cab, because they'll tell you that, you need to get as many pictures as to what was leading up to that accident before it happened, and then report it to your insurance company right away. The biggest claims I see are where the driver said that he wasn't at fault and the owner of the insurance company believes the driver. And, the human brain, it may be that they are not lying, but the human brain changes events to protect your psyche. So you could have been at fault, but you don't think you were because you wouldn't have had the accident based on the facts of the case if you knew what was really happening as opposed to what your mind was telling you, right? So report it to the insurance company and let them get an accident a reconstruction specialist, an adjuster, or even an attorney on it as soon as you can. And that's the best thing you can do.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, a lot of preventative reporting for sure. Data is super important. I'm a big data guy. Um, I'd love to ask you as well, inside of the business currently, which metrics are you guys focused on improving the most?
So, one of the things you need to track as far as analysis of a trucking company is accidents per miles run. You look at frequency of miles. You look at a frequency of miles in highly litigated areas. There's a really cool product which will analyze for a fleet owner where their out of service violations occur and how many nuclear verdicts. That's verdicts over $1 million have occurred in that district. And then they give you a score. So like the worst is DEFCON 1 and the best is like, peace be with you. So you can get a monthly score on what your profile is in the regions that you run. The really important thing on that is if you're making if you got a backhaul and you're getting $2.08 a mile running in one of those areas where you're likely to be sued for a big amount of money and have your insurance premium go up, that's even more reason to ask for more because you probably know that the big fleets that have this data are pricing those lanes accordingly, and that's why if you're a small fleet and you don't have the data, you might be taking that load. So that's a consideration,
Gotcha. And as far as
and that ties
AI
into
and
driver turnover. Like if you're a driver, I I never was a driver, but how likely are you to want to travel into the Bronx or somewhere where you're going to be tied up with an accident?
yeah, for sure. And as far as AI, because AI is a big topic of discussion. We love AI here. But where do you feel AI is best used in trucking and transportation right now?
Well, we just put AI on CargoLabs to help people make decisions on what insurance to buy and how to do it. AI is amazing. I use AI for contracts or for job applications. One of my insurance companies that I represent uses AI. They take a driver profile. They look at, does the driver belong to church? Does he own his home? Does he have a fishing and hunting license? How entrenched is he in the community? Because they think that 18% of the drivers that just travel around have 90% of the accidents just with a different motor carrier every time. So AI in that tool is phenomenal. So why not have one of these AI services online write an application for you, or even better, it sounds like you've got a driver recruiting thing. So use AI to develop the profile on the driver's entrenchment, or is he entrenched in his community, or is he a cowboy? Right. So the theory in the insurance world is the cowboys have more accidents. So use AI to predict those guys that are risk adverse and homebodies entrenched in their community. You'll have a better driver force.
I love that. No, that's definitely a great insight. If you could think about, because I know it's hard to predict where AI is headed. If there was one or two things that you would love to see AI kind of do now, what would those be?
Cargo Labs, we are going to be analyzing the data that we have from accident frequency, traffic lanes of accidents, different key metrics as far as type of equipment, type of commodity that's causing loss. That's going to be uh, that's going to be a gold mine in the future. That data is going to be very important to large corporations that are taking on risk. So on the other side, risk is shared between small truckers, large truckers, and insurance companies. So if that data becomes available for the guys that have small fleets, that's imperative to pricing the traffic lanes.
Gotcha. Nice. Well, cool.
I've got
If
a
you could
large
go
fleet
back,
that's redlining truck stops where they have small lots, right? So you all probably all been in one. The mom and pop truck stop doesn't have enough money to pay for a gas lot where you can turn around properly. So when you're in paying for your fuel, you come out and your mirror's been knocked off or your trailer door's been torn up. They're using AI on claims reports, police reports to put a red line on their dispatch system that says you can't fuel up there. That's pretty cool.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
What's some of the, I guess, like the best advice you've ever got about business or life in general?
I had a little bit of trouble with the connection. Can you ask me again?
What's some of the best advice that you've ever gotten about business or life?
Best advice in my profession is to focus on the value system of the customer, the client, and tailor what you provide to them based on what's important to them. And that's in anything. I even raise my kids that way.
And
I
100%.
hope I heard your question right. It was breaking up.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty solid. So as far as the carriers that you work with, have you seen them implementing AI into their I know you spoke about the product that kind of scores the drivers. Have you seen more carriers start to incorporate AI into the recruiting process?
So, not so the insurance world is famous for being behind the times. There's a proven method to waiting. If you've ever wanted to get an insurance quote and it takes a long time, one of the reasons is the underwriter's trained that if somebody's pushing you, there's probably a claim that it's occurring and they're going to try to backdate that coverage and you'll get snagged on it. So just wait and then it won't be an issue. Right. So the insurance industry is very slow at adopting AI, but the trucking industry, I think I'm very happy at how much they're adopting AI. As you know, one of the things I'm working on CargoLabs is this double broker problem where you have basically cyber fraud going on where somebody pretend they take a load, pretend to be a broker or some other tender the load to some other motor carrier and then disappear into the night, steal the load or at least steal the freight bill. Um, AI identifying that that's a legitimate carrier will be a big thing. And fraudulent carriers are driving the rates down for the legitimate carriers. So everybody should be invested in that and happy that that's going on.
Got you. Is there anything else you would love for the viewers or just the audience to know? Anything that you think would help or any thoughts in general?
So I know how hard it is to be running a small trucking company, especially the last couple of years with freight rates the way they are and the increasing cost of doing business. I would just say lean into technology, look for innovative partners and hitch your wagon to them. Get on shows like this and learn and don't just do the same old thing your daddy did because, daddy's not trucking now for a reason, probably.
Awesome. Well, how can people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about Cargo Labs or if they have any questions for you specifically? How can people reach out?
So I work for a company called Acrisure. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I'd love to write your insurance program. I get very creative with what we do and build what's best for you. And then Cargo Labs is my pet project. We work with any insurance agent and any insurance company. We just want to disseminate rapid response insurance that will get the small trucker loaded, get you past the compliance team. We've got, for instance, bid specs on our landing page, so you can show the shipper that you can get 2 million umbrella over top of your auto policy, or up to 1 million excess cargo, and then now you've proven that you can bid the lanes and you can get the insurance when you need it. So you don't have to pay for the whole year; you just pay for what you need. That's a buzzword we're hearing and everything, right? Pay for what you need, pay for what you use.
How has social media played a part in the growth of Cargo Labs and your business specifically? Is it something? Is it a tool that you guys use often for visibility, or is there other methods to kind of get the word out that works best?
Well, first off, I appreciate you having me here. We're a new company, and we are both working hard to refine our product and to find insurance entities to sell our products. So social media kind of gets pushed back. And thank you for allowing me to talk to your audience. Yeah, I mean, I just was at an insurance conference talking with other Acrisure agents, and the way to reach your audience is social media. That's what's driving the world. I personally don't watch television anymore. I watch sporting events, I record them, and I watch YouTube. And I imagine everybody out there is like me.
I don't watch television either, and I was actually having a conversation with a content creator yesterday. And he spoke just about the streaming platforms, the Netflix, the Hulus, and how that has taken over cable television. I mean, I think a lot of people look for their news from social media platforms now. Their information comes from a lot of sources like YouTube. And moving forward, I believe that it's definitely going to play a huge role in visibility for companies. If there were other platforms that you guys were looking to, I guess, move into it, I know LinkedIn, you're very vocal on LinkedIn. Are there other channels that you feel might increase the visibility?
Certainly, the big daddy of them all is Freight Waves, and that's actually how I met the staff there at Freight Waves. Is how I met my co-founder that built the product. We plan to attend all these shows. I went to the Louisville show and milled around and met as many of your audience as I could. we're going to, as we sell more insurance and conduct more transactions, we'll have a bigger budget. So we'll be at these places and we'll be meeting people and creating content on our own. So again, I appreciate this, and I'm going to have you on my show when I have a show.
I can't wait. What's the name? Have you been thinking about names for it?
We have R truck, just the letter R truck is probably something we're leaning into. But I don't know if you saw Chloe Cargo, our new AI generated chatbot. She may be hosting a show soon, leaning into AI
Nice.
as we speak.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I'd be honored to be on that show and be a guest.
Yeah, you've built some really
How's
cool products.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I try hard to, identify just based on the meaningful conversations we have with our community members. We try to identify what issues they're having and what's coming up. Insurance and safety is always a big topic, right? Premiums are going up. They're looking for more information on how they can actually reduce those costs. So I definitely appreciate the insights that you bring to this conversation. I mean, the products that you've developed, I think this is definitely going to help a lot of people. And just having someone else to kind of lean on for information on how to actually make that happen for their companies, right? I think we talked about, your agent or the person that you're working with being able to, disseminate that information so you can make better decisions as well. So yeah, Mr. Harvey, thank you for sharing, the boots on the ground insight that you've been able to bring to this conversation. You've shown us that driver retention and safety aren't just buzzwords, right? They're the heartbeat of a healthy fleet, essentially. So for everyone listening, remember, it's not about chasing quick fixes. It's about building a culture that drivers want to stay in, making safety a profit center, not a compliance chore. If today's conversation sparked an idea or challenged you to rethink how you recruit and retain drivers, share this episode with your team or another fleet owner who could use it. Hey, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on our next deep dive with another industry leader. We love to have guests that have great insight, are making a huge impact, and have lived it, right? So until next time, keep your wheels turning safely, keep your people thriving, and keep building your legacy on and off the road. Mr. Harvey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. You're doing a lot for the community, and it's really wonderful.
Awesome. Until next time, if you guys have any questions, put them in the comment section as well. We'd love to get some insights, some feedback. I'm sure Mr. Harvey would definitely appreciate any insights on this conversation. And don't forget to go to cargolabs.com, check it out, you know, subscribe to, if they have newsletters there, anything that you can kind of get information wise from there. I think they would definitely help cut some costs for you around compliance, insurance, and making the overall a better operation. So again, thank you guys for watching and tuning in. I really appreciate you guys just taking the time out to watch this. I really want to be respectful of your time. So if you took the time out to watch this, thank you so much. And until next time, I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
That was